It's time to lock in. We're talking SEC, college football, and more. This is AP as we see it. I'm all about the action. I'm all about the action. I'm all about the action. I said I'm all about that action.
Lower Alabama. This is AP as we see it, a weekly syndicated 1 hour show discussing the Southeastern Conference, college football on the national scene, and other sports. So, welcome to this week's edition. And first off, we want to mention our social media platforms. You can watch every episode on our YouTube channel, AP as we see it. You can also listen to it on Spotify. And we're also broadcast on about 20 to 25 stations heard in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, and Tennessee. So check our Facebook, our Instagram, our X account. And like I said, YouTube channel, AP as we see it. And then YouTube channels, you can see the interviews that we do through the days and weeks and months in the year, all the events that we cover, the college football games, the college football quarterfinal games and semifinal games and national championship games, the Super Bowl, the draft, Final Four, men's basketball. So, and different events that we cover where there's sports figures and personalities attending, we have a chance to ask them questions as well. So check all our social media platforms, our YouTube channel at AP as we sit. And we also like to mention our sponsors, Greer's Markets, 29 locations, Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi. Lucy's Recipes, you can find her book in the store and check out her fabulous recipes online. You can have the groceries to go delivered to your home, your office, different venues. When you're trying to prepare the food and you can't be there in person, you can click on the groceries to go and have it delivered. All the delicious food and desserts and many, many things. So check the weekly specials online. They have the coloring contest monthly for all the children. That's a lot of fun. And there's the special occasions, the holidays, the birthdays, the anniversaries, the ball games and football and basketball, women's basketball, baseball, softball. Watch all those things and enjoy the Greer's groceries while you're cheering for your favorite team. And we also want to mention that they have the fresh produce, the dinner essentials, the delicious food and snacks at unbeatable prices. And this week for the Father's Day, you can claim your prize, claim your bounty, and check for the items that have the X on there. Bring it to the front customer service area, and there's a prize, and then there's also a grand prize. So claim your bounty. Father's Day is coming up, and look forward at the Greer's Markets all around Alabama, Florida, Mississippi. And remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it. We also like to make mention of the Cortland Grand Hotel in downtown Atlanta. Beautiful, spacious rooms. They have the tropical setting for the indoor pool. It's right downtown in the heart of Atlanta. There's restaurants, the gift shop. They have the breakfast they cook to order on the weekends and the buffet during the week as well. And Ben Jacquemour and his staff do a tremendous job. Outstanding hospitality, excellent parking as well. You're right there in the downtown Atlanta area. So please give them a holler if you're going to be going to Atlanta. I'll be staying there at the Cortland Grand Hotel for the SEC Media Days. So our two sponsors, Greer's Markets and the Cortland Grand Hotel, downtown Atlanta. So we just want to get our show set today, and we're going to have a special guest in segment 2 and 3. It'll be Buck Belue, the former University of Georgia national championship quarterback, host of 680 The Fan in Atlanta, Georgia. Buck is always a good guest and knowledgeable about the Bulldogs and just college football in general. He's been following it ever since he played, and he's been a media member for a long time, and he's always has a good resource of knowledge about the Georgia Bulldogs, of course, and also the SEC and college football around the country. Another thing we're going to discuss right now is the house settlement. And people are thinking, when I say the word house settlement, no, it's not Congress. No, Grant House was a former swimmer from Arizona State University who sued the NCAA in the 5 conferences. So they combined that lawsuit with 2 other lawsuits, and there's a judge in Berkeley, California that came up with a decision. So it's a $2.8 billion antitrust award for the players concerning the name, image, and likeness. So schools right now, they can allocate in the coming years, the next 10 years, up to $20.5 million per school. So they can generate that revenue and disperse it to the athletes. And we know, for instance, the schools, and also they can make direct payments to the schools. There's 200,000 or so athletes, 350 schools on the Division I level. So that gives you an idea how many schools there are in this country on the Division I level. And then there's 500,000 athletes, 1,100 schools throughout the NCAA. So those are big numbers, and it's finally been settled. That doesn't mean there won't be lawsuits, but they came up with this decision. It's taken quite a few years. So the maximum, as I said, the maximum that they can share is the 20.5 million per school to the athletes. And that number, how did they come up with that number? That number is approximately 22% of the media rights, the ticket sales, and the sponsorships. So that's how they came up with that number. And more than likely, the football programs are going to receive, I'm saying minimum 70% of that total 20.5 million is going to be going to the football programs right now. But also something to consider is for the colleges to generate that 20.5 million in revenue, they're coming up with some creative ways to attract funding. And for instance, a talent fee, some schools are calling it a talent fee. That's becomes part of the ticket price. There's some concession price hikes that are happening. And then you'll have maybe some athletic fees. For instance, I think I read where Clemson is adding $150 per student per semester as a surcharge to the tuition bill. So these universities, they're not waiting. They've been following this subject matter for a long time. They're prepared. They know what they want to do to come up with additional funding for their schools to reach that $20.5 million maximum amount that they could disperse and dispense and allocate to their athletes. And they can do that directly. Now you're asking, is it just going to be the $20.5 million that they can dispense per year to their athletes? No, they're third-party deals, NIL deals that they can find and can come up for their student athletes. Third-party deals will be in addition to the 20.5 million that's allowed in this judgment from the court system, federal court in Berkeley, California. So look out for these NIL deals from third parties. So that's kind of a way to get around that maximum amount. Now, in this decision, they've come up with a College Sports Commission. Excuse me. They appointed to be the CEO of Major League Baseball executive Brian Seeley, and they're going to be in charge of the enforcement. So they're going to take that away from the NCAA primarily. Most of that enforcement is with these NIL deals. How's that going to happen? Well, any deal that's over $600 has to be approved through this clearinghouse in conjunction with Deloitte. So $600 deals, and if you look at the numbers that I just described to you, all the number of athletes, Deloitte is going to be very busy. There's going to be a lot of deals over $600 that they have to approve for all these different athletes and approve the third-party ones as well, I believe. But anyhow, the student athlete, the schools, they have to have signed these agreements. And remember now, when the school signs this agreement, you've heard whispers of states coming up with a law that gives them the freedom to bypass the laws by the NCAA or this new commission. Well, if you sign that agreement, you have to follow the laws of that agreement. So we've heard some things mentioning in Tennessee, for instance, has a law where they made it where their law can supersede anything coming from the NCAA or any type of commission. But once Tennessee or Vanderbilt signs that agreement, the conference is going to hold them to that signature. So I wouldn't look for any schools trying to go outside there. Now, there's going to be some litigation It's not going to solve anything, but we're going to talk about that in segment 4 when we come back to this subject matter. We have a few more things that we have to mention uh, in the next segment, the segment number 4. But first off, we're going to have our guest, Buck Belue, former University of Georgia national championship quarterback, 1980, and he's host of 680 on 680 The Fan in Atlanta. And Buck is very knowledgeable about the Georgia Bulldogs, and we always look forward to his commentary. And we'll see Buck in Atlanta for the SEC Media Days, and it is in Atlanta this year. And like I said, we'll be staying at the Cortland Grand Hotel downtown, and I just highly recommend that property. Ben Giacomo and staff, very hospitable, good food at the restaurants, excellent breakfast. I look forward to it every morning. So, but we're going to be right back after these messages with our guest, Buck Belue, University of Georgia, former national championship quarterback, host of The Fan, Atlanta, Georgia. We'll be right back after these messages with AP as we see it.
Hi, I'm AP Stedham for Greer's Markets. If you're planning a big party or for every day, shop at Greer's for delicious food, beverages, and snacks. Save time and money by checking on Greers.com and use Groceries to Go to get your Greer's groceries delivered. Look at the weekly ad for more information. 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the region since 1916. Remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it.
And we're back with AP as we see it, and our very special guest, former University of Georgia national championship quarterback, host of 680 The Fan, Atlanta, Georgia, Buck Belue. Hey, Buck, thank you for being on AP as we see it.
Hey, ready to go, man.
Hey, yeah, the football, it's almost here, Buck. We'll be in Atlanta pretty soon for the SEC Media Days. What are you thinking about with this season with Georgia? Something like right at the top of your mind?
Well, I just came from the grocery store. My wife has left me with the 3 kids, and so I had to go restock and get some of the food that they like. And I say I went by that magazine portion of Publix, and I saw all those college football preview magazines out there. And do you know,
Yes.
I didn't see Gunnar Stockton on any of them,
Oh, my.
the Bulldog quarterback. So
Georgia quarterback, right.
I did hear that he's on one of
Okay.
those magazines right now. But,
Right.
I used to think, nobody wants to be on the preseason magazine. It's all based on what you did last year or,
Yes.
what somebody's hyping you up to be. Where you want to be is the postseason. The postseason all SEC quarterbacks. So that, if I taught the Gunner today, I saw him recently at the golf course at one of these charity events, and told Gunner, man, you just use this as fuel to get you motivated and ready to go. And he sort of chuckled, and Stockton said he didn't need that to get him ready to go. He's been waiting a lifetime for this opportunity. So, yeah, I'm really excited about Gunner. I know Feinbaum's a little down on him. I don't know who Paul's been talking to, but they've been ripping him pretty good here during the preseason.
Well, Buck, you played the position. You watched him. I would kind of trust your evaluation of him. I think that, as I tell people many times at these top programs, if you can't play quarterback at some of these schools, you probably can't play anywhere, because usually they have pretty good receivers, offensive line, and support. And so what do you think about Gunner as a quarterback so far in your evaluation?
I think he and Ty Simpson are sort of in the same place. That they're going to have a lot of quality players surrounding them. That Alabama offense is loaded up. The Georgia offensive line is going to be solid. These Bulldog receivers, this is probably a deeper receiver class that I've seen at Georgia since 2012.
Right.
When Aaron Murray was throwing it around to a really good group of receivers. But Gunner is going to have a good offensive line, really deep receiving core, including those tight ends. And this Nate Frazier had to play a lot last season because of injuries at running back. And I tell you what, if he can clean up the ball security and have an outstanding breakout season this year. So, look, Gunner's got a lot of good folks around him. Look, I'm high on Mike Bobo, the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach, and I just will never understand why a percentage of the Bulldog fan base is content on ripping Mike Bobo. I had some guy telling me that Georgia led the college football in drops.
Yes,
And do you know, he
correct.
wasn't blaming it on the Georgia receivers. He was blaming it on Mike Bobo, believe it or not. So I just will never understand it.
Oh, my.
He was I got to know Mike when he stepped in as the quarterback at Georgia, and I've admired the job that he did then. And as a long-term assistant coach at Georgia, he's done a lot of outstanding things. Heck, 2 years ago, he was up for the Assistant Coach of the Year award.
Right.
So that's what I try to remind the Bulldog fans who want to rip him. But look, Gunner's going to have a good game plan, good play caller, a lot of talent around him. Gunner came in. Look, everybody wanted him. Saban wanted him. He wanted to go play for Mike until, they ran Mike out of there and Kirby hired him.
Yeah.
Look, so
Right.
Gunner is set up to have a big season, and I really believe he will. Look, one of the things that these people don't understand, he doesn't have any elite skills, all right, but he
Yes.
does everything well. There are no weaknesses here with Gunner. Can stand in the pocket and throw it, make all the throws. He's got some mobility. He wants to win, so he's a team guy, and the players are going to react to that. I think he's in for a big season.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I say, he's got the support. And Gunner's a good leader. I think I believe the team responded to him last year in a short stint that he had as the starter. So I think they're in good stead there. And like you said, dropping the ball, that's critical. So I want to mention those receivers. The one that interests me, yeah, I'm like Bobo's fault, right? Yeah. I want to mention that one receiver, the transfer from USC, Zachariah Branch. He intrigues me, Buck. I don't know if you had a chance to watch him or maybe see him at USC or in the spring.
Well, he's a big play guy, and look, he made a name for himself at USC returning punts and kicks, electric, explosive. So that really fits into the slot receiver role on this team. I'm just really excited about the X receiver situation, the big mismatch receiver that a year ago they lost Ra Thomas before the season even started.
Yes.
And they played without an X receiver all season long, which really hurt the offense. But look, you got the kid coming in from Texas A&M, the 6'6", and looked good in the G-Day game. The X receiver thing is fixed, and Branch is a playmaker, and you'll take all of those you can get.
Yeah, that speed, he gives somebody nightmares, a defensive coordinator, a sleepless night. That's what I'm looking for when I'm trying to evaluate a team after the quarterback. Who scares me when I look at that film, the speed, and so Zachariah Branch, the other ones. Now, the offensive line, Buck, they have to replace 4 people. Is that right? About 4 people?
Yeah, they do. But look, they've recruited really well, as good as any team in the country. They're deep on the offensive line, especially at offensive tackle, where they're going to start 2 veterans at the tackle spot, and Ernest Green being one of them. And then they've got 2 backups that could be starting pretty much at any other place. So they go 4 deep, right. Quality at offensive tackle. If there's a question mark, it's in the interior offensive line. But I tell you, Stacy Searles has recruited lights out on the line of scrimmage. And look, you may not have heard of some of these guys, but behind the scenes, they've been developing and get their opportunity this year. So I feel really good. I saw where one of these college football, and Cole Kubelik was mentioning Georgia. He felt like had one of the top SEC offensive lines coming into the year. So I'm going to respect his opinion and think a lot of that. It was Noah Thomas and Colby Young were the 2 X receivers that look good right now. They signed a 5-star receiver from Metro Atlanta, C.J. Wiley. They're all 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". So that's something they didn't have a year ago. Dylan Bell's back, so he's a good all-around receiver. They're deep and talented at that receiver spot, just like they are on the offensive line.
Yeah, I think there'd be much better production in the wide receiver spot. And like I say, that offensive line, there's not much of a drop usually with
They want
Georgia.
to run the
Uh,
ball more this year too.
yep.
Look, that with Carson Beck, they threw it more than they ran it, and so I think this is really going to fit what Gunner does well. They'll run the football effectively. They'll feature Nate Frazier. They'll play action shot off of that, which is very effective when you can run it. You got to have some run action fake pass in there, and so I think this offense will be really good.
Yeah, every week last year, Buck, I would mention Georgia, 95th in rushing, Georgia,
Yeah.
90 or whatever it was, 100th in rushing. And I said, I can't believe I'm saying this, but this is reality. And I know Kirby, it was disappointing that he couldn't run the football. So I'm expecting much better production from that facet of their offense as well. Nate Frazier, good player. Now Georgia's had some good tight ends recently, Buck. Was that going to continue?
Well, yeah, Oscar Delp is a really good all-around player, and he's worked hard to get bigger and stronger to stay in there and help the run game. I really like Lawson Lucky, who is a big receiver more than he is an inline tight end. He's a playmaker. I got to see him play in high school. You've got two freshmen they brought in, two five-star tight ends, Ellis Williams, Ethan Barbour, that they're expecting a lot of. They're at least four deep at the tight end spot. And look, again, I think the theme here is in this day and time when you're going to play 16 games, if you're going to win it all, you better have some good quality depth because it's a long season. And you got to be strong when the end season gets here. And the only way to do that is to get fortunate with injuries and then rotate a lot of guys in during the season. And Georgia's in good shape there.
Mm-hmm. Less than a minute, Buck. Does Kirby like to play a lot of people on offense, Buck? Kirby?
Well, I think he's, all invested on that defensive side of the ball.
Yes.
And he is,
Yes.
he sticks his nose in Mike Bobo's office. And, they sort of have the same philosophy on being balanced, wanting to be able to bully people with the run game. But I've seen Kirby, come around. I think he's embraced the passing game. You're going to see a lot of the short pass, which is really an extension of the run game, all those wide receiver screens. Kirby likes to refer that as an extension of the run game. And I believe that. I believe it too. Those are high percentage throws, and you're trying to get your ball in your best ball carrier's hands out in space. And you can do that in the passing game when you can't do it in the run game.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we're going to be right back with another segment with Buck Belue, former national championship quarterback at Georgia, host of 680 The Fan in Atlanta. We're right back after these messages with AP as we see it.
Hi, I'm AP Stedham for Greer's Markets. If you're planning a big party or for every day, shop at Greer's for delicious food, beverages, and snacks. Save time and money by checking on Greer's.com and use Groceries to Go to get your Greer's groceries delivered. Look at the weekly ad for more information. 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the region since 1916. Remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it.
And we're back with AP as we see it, and our very special guest is Buck Belue, former national championship quarterback for the University of Georgia Bulldogs, host of 680 The Fan in Atlanta, Georgia. Buck, we're going to continue this discussion about the team. So I guess we'll look on Kirby's favorite side, the defense. So that defensive line, they have some people that have to replace, like always. What's happening there with the defensive line?
Well, this is maybe the biggest concern that I've got coming into the season, especially the edge, where there's just not a lot of experience going on at the edge positions. Outside linebacker coming off the edge, trying to get after the quarterback. They hit the transfer portal, got one of the players they brought in playing that jack position on the stand-up defensive end, outside linebacker. Mudozi out of one of the academies at Army, I believe it is.
Army sure is, Buck.
Kirby picks his spots on, the areas they really need some help, and that's where they'll go hit on those things. And so he's expected to come in and get some playing time. Interior defensive tackle, Kristen Miller's played a lot of really good football inside. Jordan Hall was injured a year ago. Prior to that, he played early in his career. So I would think those two guys are going to have to lead the way. They signed one of the top players in the country in this 25 recruiting class, Elijah Griffin, who looked good, early enrollee, may rotate in and get a little time. But, to me, that's going to be the big key for them, is can they get after people on that defensive front. Linebacker, they're loaded. In the secondary, they're loaded in the secondary also. So no worries going on there. C.J. Allen, Raylan Wilson played a ton of football on the inside linebacker spots. Kirby has had great success with those off-the-ball linebackers. I got to see one up at the Falcons practice today in Jalen Walker, who went first to the Falcons. So Roquan Smith comes to mind. They know a good off-the-ball inside linebacker when they see one. So with Allen and Wilson, they're in great shape. Secondary, it looks good too. So up front's the key. Got to play ball on that defensive front if you want to beat the best teams in the SEC.
Yeah, you got to disrupt that quarterback, make him think about you. At least I guess there was maybe 3 secondary players that transferred in, Buck. I think I read that. 3 transfers in the secondary. But
and I think that they're looking for some depth right there. Dalen Everett comes back as their lockdown cornerback. He's a player, and he'll be one of the better ones in the SEC. They've got a couple of young cornerbacks that broke in at the end of last season and played a little football. One of them was the top-rated corner in the country 2 recruiting classes ago, Ellis Robinson. So, look, safety and then at corner, they're in really good shape. KJ Bolden, he's a big-timer. So, if that defensive line can come through, they'll be one of the better defenses out there.
Yeah, I bet they're looking from big things from Ellis Robinson. What is it Ellis Robinson the 4th, or I know it's something like that, but I think they're looking for big things from him, maybe a little more maturity. I think
I'm the 3rd. I'm Benjamin Franklin Belue the 3rd. So I didn't worry about the numbers,
Right.
But, Ellis, the number 1 rated guy corner last year,
yes.
And when he got on the field at the end of the year, it looked like he had developed, but they need him to take another big step there. They'll with Everett on one side locking down, where the quarterback and coordinator are going to be. They're going to be going to the opposite side of the field. So Daniel Harris took over that starting role at the end of last season. Daniel Harris and Ellis Robinson the 4th will be competing for that spot. Yeah,
you'll get your chance to prove yourself early. And often.
You got to with Kirby, you got to prove yourself every day.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah. Buck, do you know anything about the kicking game? Because I'm always concerned about the kicking game. You have a top team. Some of the games are close. How is the kicker, and will he make a difference, do you think?
Yeah, they get their place kicker back. So, yeah, they feel good about that. He's been awesome. The punter injured his knee at the end of last season. Yeah, which was he's one of those Aussie punters, and did a great job. But they and then you've got Branch as a return man, as you were bringing
dynamic
up earlier. So I think so one thing I really loved about playing for Vince Dooley is the first thing we worked on at practice was special teams, and so we weren't going to get beat because of a breakdown in the kicking game. And Kirby is cut from the same cloth. He's made punter, kicker, coverage teams. He's got starters on the cover team. Always a dangerous return man. Really happy with the emphasis he puts on that.
Yeah, if you start the beginning of practice, it's serious to the head coach. So everybody takes notice. That's a smart move. Sure is.
No doubt.
Unintended. Kirby Smart. Buck, about the schedule, same as last year with the conference games. Pretty difficult. You bring in Alabama, Texas. So what do you think about the schedule and how that plays into the season's success?
There were some of these Bulldog season ticket holders that started to complain about the lackluster home opponents.
Oh,
And,
really?
I think what happened is you get a lot of people that aren't able to come get those tickets.
Yes.
The season ticket holders give those tickets away to friends and colleagues and people at work, and they get to go. But let me tell you something. Those boosters aren't giving away those tickets this year. You got Texas showing up, and that's going to be a showdown game. You
Yeah.
got Ole Miss coming to town, and then you've got Alabama also. Look, these Bulldog fans, they're tired of playing Alabama and Tuscaloosa and even downtown Atlanta where they've struggled. They hadn't
Right.
gotten them in Athens very often. So they're really
Right.
excited about that and the entire home schedule. They're really excited about what they're looking at here. Big time teams, big time games. I'm getting stopped at the grocery store a lot and at the coffee shop. Everybody's already talking about it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Buck, is there any team you're looking forward to? You can say this as a media person. You could say, I'm looking forward to this game. The head coach can't, but you could say that. Is there a game you're looking forward to this season? An opponent on the road, at home?
Well, I can't wait to see the Texas game. Arch Manning taking over.
Right.
Really impressed with
Yes.
Arch when he got to play a year ago. He's totally prepared to take the torch and run with it at Texas. Like I was saying about Gunner, Arch is going to have a lot of great talent around him. Shark, you got Sarkisian can dial up these plays left and right. So I'm looking forward to seeing the Texas Ohio State game to start the season. That'll be the opener.
Yes.
And then we'll get to see the Longhorns come to Sanford Stadium for the first time. So, yeah, those are a couple of games I'm really excited to see.
Isn't that amazing, Buck? All these years, 100 plus years of football, 150 years, Texas and Georgia, they played in the Cotton Bowl and some other places, but never Texas at Georgia. Yeah, so that's phenomenal.
It's
If it
fun.
happened.
Yeah, I love those games, and all the fans love it. I know the TV executives love it.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Last 2 minutes here, Buck. Buck, do you have a preference on the format college football playoff moving forward in 26, 5-11 with the 5 conference winners and 11 at large, or the 4-4, 2-2, 3-1 model with there's 4 qualifiers from the SEC? You have a preference?
Well, the preference I have is I want to see more of these playoff games. And so I'm thrilled it will expand. We get to see
Right.
more games, which, I'm a big fan of seeing these big games.
Right.
I do want to see them ranked, though. The conference advantage or disadvantage.
Yeah, this year. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's rate them 1 through 6, 1 through 12, 1 through 14, whatever it's going to be, and we need them ranked.
Yeah.
More appropriately than what happened a year ago. So I like the bigger playoff system.
Right.
I want to see the more games, the merrier. I love the games on the campus, the round where you got the campus games. Love
Absolutely.
that.
That's great.
Really, the only complaint I had was let's get the seating right, and let's
Yes.
get the seating right. And it looks like they're ready to do that.
The true ranking. Another thing, a big complaint last minute or so, Buck, was you're starting to hear rumblings about we do not like the selection committee. When I say we, I mean some of the people in athletic administrations.
Well, again, I don't want to be a complainer. I'm not a
Right.
complainer, but I'm not so sure. I don't know how much politics has to do with it, but I just don't think when you've got like 8 of the 12. Just throwing some numbers out there, it might not be
Right.
completely accurate, but if 8 of the 12 committee members are athletic directors, I don't know how accurate that can be. They
Right.
know budgets and managing staffs. I don't know if they really know who the best football teams are. So I want to see more analysts involved in the selection process, and I would like to see I'd like to see who voted for who. I mean,
the transparency.
Let's have a little transparency here.
Yeah, look, I don't know if they have enough security. I don't know if they have enough security to release that, Buck. I'm not sure. They can hire enough security. It'd be too expensive. It'd blow up the budget,
gosh,
Buck.
2 years ago, Georgia became the first team to lose the SEC title game and not get in the playoffs. And that was really disappointing,
Right,
and
right.
it was disappointing to me. They didn't even talk about it on the special, Reese Davis and, that
Right.
ESPN crew. They never even brought that up, how Georgia
No,
could
no.
go from number one and fall
Yeah.
out of the playoffs altogether. I'm still a little
Altogether,
annoyed
altogether.
by that.
I hear. We'll have to leave it on that note, Buck, but thank you so much. Buck Belue, the former University of Georgia national championship quarterback, host of 680 The Fan in Atlanta, Georgia. Hey, Buck, we'll see you in Atlanta for SEC Media Days. Thank you so much, and we'll be right back after these messages with AP as we see it.
Hi, I'm AP Stedham for Greer's Markets. If you're planning a big party or for every day, shop at Greer's for delicious food, beverages, and snacks. Save time and money by checking on Greer's.com and use groceries to go to get your Greer's groceries delivered. Look at the weekly ad for more information. 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the region since 1916. Remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it.
And we're back with AP as we see it, and we'd like to thank our guest, outstanding guest, special guest, Buck Belue, former University of Georgia national championship quarterback, host at 680 The Fan, Atlanta, Georgia. And thank you so much for all your insights, Buck. Really appreciate it. We'll see you in Atlanta at the SEC Media Days. But we want to continue our discussion of the House settlement. And I just want to refer back to one thing about the third-party deals. And we were mentioning that this is extra money above and beyond the 20.58 limit for schools that they can allocate to their student athletes. Let's give you an example, okay? If you have a quarterback that's asking for $2 million per year, that is 10% of the 20.5 million. So you need that third party, those third party deals, NIL deals. So that's really important, I guess, especially if you look at your quarterbacks asking for more money. So that's one way to get around it. But we wanted to mention, we're speaking about the House settlement. We should mention the name of the judge because her name will be famous for a long time for various reasons. And she's from the U.S. Northern District of California, Judge Claudia Wilkin. Judge Claudia Wilkin from the U.S. Northern District of California. So we wanted to let you know about her name. That's a prominent name that people are going to remember for a long time, I believe. Judge Wilkin, Northern California, Berkeley, California. So the next part of this House settlement that we want to refer to with regards to athletes is the athletes from 2016 to 2024 are going to receive payback from schools. It's a $2.7 billion settlement, 2016 to 2024. And believe it or not, the NCAA said they're going to cough up the $1.12 billion. The NCAA, they're going to take care of out of that $2.7 billion on the payback to the athletes from 2016 to 2024. Now, we mentioned the fact that this settlement is going to help the NCAA and there'll be less lawsuits. There's always going to be lawsuits. People do not agree. But one of the provisions that's very, very important that people should become aware of with this scenario is the arbitration provision. So if you have what's called market value of these NIL deals, the NIL market value, there's a dispute. If you're trying to receive money in Austin, Texas, or Norman, Oklahoma, Athens, Georgia, Columbia, South Carolina, Auburn, Alabama, Knoxville, Tennessee, the various schools from around the country, the athlete might not agree with the amount that they consider to be it's designated by Deloitte as market value. They might present a deal that's $10,000 and they might mark it down to $8,000. So the representative of the athlete, they're going to voice their displeasure and say, we want to take it to arbitration. So when you have arbitration, for those who are familiar with the court system, usually it's probably above 90% of the time that a judge will agree with the arbitration. Very rarely that the judge will disagree and make him go back to a second arbitration. So that's going to really improve the lawsuits against the NCAA, against Deloitte, against all these schools when athletes have a disagreement with the fair market value. But the other thing I wanted to bring up about fair market value that I want to have this question answered. If you're, for instance, I'm using Ohio State as the benchmark because they notoriously spent a lot of money last year to build that championship team, national championship team. Well, if you have the fair market value in Columbus and you're trying to recruit somebody in California and USC offered them 4 times the money, even though it might be delineated that it's fair market value in California, the athlete and its representatives might say, well, this $10,000 is much better than the $2,000 that is fair market value in Columbus. So I'm not sure. I don't quite understand that fair market value when you're trying to recruit a player and your number is going to be smaller, even though you have just as much money, if not more, than another university in different parts of the country. So that's kind of something that's peculiar to me that I need to get an explanation about fair market value. And are there any advantages by being in a bigger city? Which, because, just by definition, in a bigger city, it's going to cost more money, more than likely. So I'm interested to find out about the fair market value and how Deloitte and their wisdom comes to this conclusion for the student athletes, and what's the fair market value. Or you take a city like Starkville, Mississippi, smaller towns as compared to Los Angeles or Chicago, or just name a big city across the country, Pittsburgh, for instance, or Miami, Atlanta, all these places, Dallas, Texas, I don't know. But to me, that's still a fluid situation. And I'm wondering how many times the arbitration is going to be the choice with all these student athletes and their representatives, because we know that the representatives of student athletes it's their fiduciary responsibility to try to extract as much money as they can in the deal to maximize that opportunity for the student athlete, because it's a short-lived career as a student athlete in college. But anyway, so the House settlement, it's been decided, but there's still some resolution of various issues that will pop up from time to time. But I think it's good for the NCAA that they're probably going to stay out of the courtroom, and they won't be have so many frequent visits to the courthouse for the NCAA, and they've been on a bad losing streak too. So I think that they're probably pretty happy with this settlement. Now we're going to see what the schools do as far as raising the $20.5 million, the third-party NIL deals, the NIL market value, all these things, the arbitration. And also, one other thing I wanted to bring up was the roster reduction. You're going to have a roster reduction, but all the players will be on scholarship. Let's say for football, you won't have as many walk-ons or walk-ons, but that's something different. The roster reduction, and then the Olympic sports. I don't know how you could say with all this money that's floating around that you're going to get rid of some of these Olympic sports. I don't see. You hear rumblings from these athletic directors. Well, we might have to reduce the sports. Some schools might add sports, for instance, but all the individuals, the student athletes, will be on scholarships. But I just don't see how, if you have all this money that's being raised for student athletes, that you're gonna approach a team, an Olympic sport, and it's gonna disintegrate and be disbanded from your university. So I think that's kind of an area that the smarter athletic directors who are committed to women's sports, the Olympic sports, that they're going to remain on their campus. I think it's an advantage for your school to have these other sports. That's my opinion, but we'll find out. But anyway, the other thing I want to discuss, we're going to leave the House settlement situation. The SEC released all their schedules for this season. And of course, you can't designate the times for all the games, but they came up with a system here. The SEC schedules the early part of the day is between 11 and 12 Central. 11 and 12 Central, that's designated as an early game. An afternoon game is 2:30 to 3:30. A night game is 5 to 7. And then the flex game is going to be in the afternoon or the night. So some of the early games, of course, they have the times that have been selected and chosen. But further on down in the schedule, you have listing of the early, afternoon, night, or flex. Some of the big games that are happening with the SEC, the non-conference games. One game that appeals to me is Arkansas is hosting Notre Dame for the very first time. That's actually September 27th. That's an 11 a.m. game. But Arkansas and Notre Dame have never played in the history of college football. I found that fascinating. The big game opening weekend, Texas travels to Columbus, Ohio to play the Ohio State Buckeyes. University of Texas Longhorns travels to Ohio State. That's an August 30th game, 11 a.m. Central. You have Auburn travels to Waco, Texas. That's on a Friday night. That's a Friday night game. So that's something different. You have Alabama traveling to Tallahassee. I believe that's a 2:30 Central game. Alabama and Florida State have played through the years, probably, maybe it's approaching 10 times. I'm not sure. It's probably close to that. Then you have Syracuse, who had a very good season, 10 wins last year, traveling to Atlanta, Georgia to play Tennessee. That's an 11 a.m. kickoff. That's on the Saturday, August 30th. And then you have the following day in Atlanta, Virginia Tech and South Carolina. That's on Sunday, the 31st. So those are some of the big games that are happening early, the non-conference games with the SEC. And those are always the most fun to me. Because, like I said, you have an Arkansas playing Notre Dame for the very first time. I know Syracuse has played Tennessee in the past. I mean, that goes back to, I think, the Gator Bowl in the mid-'60s. They played each other way back. And I think Tennessee played Syracuse at Syracuse, their championship season of 98 with T. Martin and company. Virginia Tech, South Carolina, I know they've played in the past. So Baylor and Auburn, they played in Alabama, Florida State, as I mentioned, Texas, Ohio State, times. And then, of course, they had that epic battle in the Cotton Bowl last year.